It's time for another episode of the Franchise Business Radio Show, broadcasting live from the Pro Business Channel studios in Atlanta. Sponsored by Franchise Intellect, a full-service franchise consulting and development firm. More info at franchiseintellect.com. Also made possible in part by Social Joey, the social media experts that provide a hyper-local presence for your franchise. More info at socialjoey.com. And now, here's your host, Pam Curry.
Hello, this is Pamela Curry, your host of Franchise Business Radio. The purpose of Franchise Business Radio is to bring franchise professionals and resources together to be able to connect, educate, and collaborate to serve the franchise community. And we have got a studio of some incredible guests today that are going to really educate our listeners all from different perspectives, right? We've got a wide range here, almost end to end. So let's go ahead and allow our listeners to know who's in the studio. Larry, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Larry Schwartz with DCV Franchise Group. Appreciate you having us today.
Yeah, excited to have you. Andy, welcome.
Hey, Pam. Thanks for having me on. My name is Andy Bean with Office Evolution.
Office Evolution. I'm excited about that. I want to. We'll be diving into it more deeply. And Seven.
Hey, this is Seven from Burri. I'm so happy to be on the show. We're super excited. We are with Burri, Lifting Noodles, Ramen, and KSP Restaurant Group.
KSP Restaurant Group. Tell us a little bit about that, KSP Restaurant Group.
Yeah, so, I mean, essentially that's the parent company that it means Ken 7 Poke. So it's my partner Ken, me, and Poke, and essentially it is the parent company of our award-winning Poke, award-winning Ramen.
Excellent. I was wondering what that acronym stood for, so you just answered that question. Well, let's go ahead and dive in. I want to be able to tell our listeners a little bit about Burri and KSP in general. What is your story?
Yeah, absolutely. Depends how much time you have, but I can just keep going on. But I mean, essentially, Burri was kind of our first restaurant that we started, and we started in October of 2016. We opened at 11:30 in the morning, and people always ask, when did you guys know you're going to be successful? And I say 11:32 when we looked outside, and there were 200 people waiting there.
Nice.
And luckily for us, these people kept coming back for us. And since then, we are actually about our 2-year anniversary coming up in a few days. But since then, we've won 46 out of 46 food competitions, awards, festivals in Atlanta. We are currently undefeated. We are Atlanta's #1 highest rated poke restaurant, #1 highest rated sushi restaurant, and #2 highest rated restaurant in the whole city, which is awesome.
Very congratulations to you, right there. A lot of accolades. Well, obviously you are doing very, very well with your current restaurants. How many restaurants do you currently have opened in Atlanta?
So right now we have our original location that's located in East Atlanta Village.
Okay.
We have Lifting Noodles Ramen, which is our award-winning ramen concept. That's also in East Atlanta. As far as other new ones coming to Atlanta, we have Coda at Tech Square. We have Ford Factory next to Ponce City Market in the Beltline. We have the Battery at Brave Stadium, and a few more that I am not allowed to announce yet, but do know if you're hungry, we'll have one in your neighborhood soon.
Wonderful. Well, coming. So talk to us a little bit. A lot of growth happening in a short window of time. What are your growth plans, franchising, and that kind of thing?
Well, I want to say world domination, but to boil that down, I mean, right now we started franchising essentially in January, February of this year, and me and my partner Ken were like, maybe we'll sell one, maybe we'll sell two, and I think we're at around 11 to 13 stores right now. So aside from the ones in Atlanta, we have Denver, Detroit, Boston, Tampa, possibly Charleston, Savannah, Vegas. The list kind of goes on. I can't keep track of all of them at this point. Yeah.
That's a good problem to have. Well,
I hope so. Everyone says it's going to pay off sooner or later, so I'm trusting everyone. Yeah.
So Burri and Lifting Noodles Ramen, obviously you offer a traditional menu items, but with a twist. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we try to differentiate ourselves in the market. I mean, something that we're really known for is we're not just your average convenience location that people go to for lunch, but we're a poke restaurant that you'll come on a special occasion, your birthday, anniversary, You'll come take pictures of our food before you eat it. That's almost every single person. A big part of that is what's called our secret menu. So aside from your average poke bowl or sushi burrito, we have what's called sushi donut, sushi corn dogs, sushi pizza. These are all, I won't say innovative, interesting looking dishes. People love coming in and trying them. They're a little bit weird, tough to eat sometimes, but they're absolutely delicious. They help us, I want to say, differentiate ourselves in the market. They allow us to kind of scale our marketing, our press, win festivals, win awards, and kind of, I want to say, go viral in a way that no other poke restaurant in America has done so far.
Wow, I'm really hungry right now. So that sounds great. And you obviously are getting the word out there. You're doing a very great job at marketing yourself, differentiating yourself. Does any of that have to do with some of your social media expertise? How does that play into your plans?
Absolutely. I mean, I think in the restaurant industry, how things work for a long time, according to like the 80-20 principle, usually what happens is around 80% of your customers come in from your location and around 20% come in from everything else that you do. We've been able to kind of flip that the other way around, where around 80% of our customers come from our marketing and 20% come from our location. And it's not that the market is smaller, but we're actually expanding the market compared to what other poke restaurants are able to do and bring in people. And Yelp, Instagram, and Google are definitely a big part of it. I love to tell people about this case study, and essentially it's the week before July 4th. People are in the mood for burgers, barbecue, American food. They're not really looking for sushi or poke, or at least that's not what's on top of their mind.
Sure.
That's when we decided to launch sushi pizza. And sushi pizza went viral, and we hit around 15, 20 bloggers, 5 magazines and newspapers, a few TV shows, a few online outlets, and we hit 125 million views in 72 hours.
Wow.
And what that led to for our business was actually a record week while everyone else was slow, a record day while everyone else was slow. And we actually drove around to the other poke restaurants that they were standing around wondering where everyone was. So, yeah.
So I'm just kind of curious, who comes up with the, I mean, there's a lot of creativity behind this.
I want to say, I mean, a big part of it comes from my partner, Ken, who is silent partner today, but he's, he comes up with a lot of our ideas, and then, I mean, a big part of it is we try not to let our business rely on our creativity ourselves. So, I mean, we do source a lot of items from our friends, bloggers, the internet, wherever it is, and I want to say it's not always that we may do something first, but we always do it the best, and we push it out in a way that's different from everybody else.
Right. And to your point, Seven, I mean, you're in the studio with us, but you also have your partner in the studio with us too. You're just being the spokesperson, and we want to make sure that everybody knows that Ken is in the studio with you.
Ken is here.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else you would like to share with our listeners?
Well, I mean, I definitely want to encourage people to come see us in all the cities that we're opening in. I definitely want to encourage people to follow us on Instagram at Burri. Check out our pictures, check out our Yelp reviews, check out our Google. And I mean, for the sake of what we're doing here today in Franchise Business Radio, I don't know if we want to talk about any of the franchising aspects of it, but in the same way
absolutely, I would welcome that, and so would our listeners, because they educate, please.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we're a little bit competitive if you haven't figured that out so far, but I mean, I think as an offering in franchising, we are competitive as well. I believe we are more profitable than your average franchise, which you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but we hear the numbers of a regular franchise are, let's say, 12 to 16% profit across the board. Your average poke restaurants can be somewhere between 16 and 22. One of our store in Atlanta averages 39 to 44% profit.
Excellent.
Our Raleigh store is at around 30% profit and climbing. I love to say that we have strong food, strong business presence, great business model, great support, and we do have flexible business models available. So you can be in a tiny food court, you can be in a standalone store. If you're the right person in the right situation, we will build a giant multi-million-dollar food court just to put a tiny poke burger in there for you. And that's what we're doing at Brave Stadium for somebody. That's what we're doing in a few other cities for other people.
That's excellent. Yeah, so you have, what I call a retrofit.
Yeah.
What would be sort of a standard footprint in regards to look?
Great question.
Yeah.
So A average food court is going to be somewhere between 500 and 700 square feet, with an average build-out cost of somewhere between 90 and 120,000, which is generally affordable. But that is going to vary based on the city and the location, of course. Standalone store, 900 to 1,200 square feet. Is going to be around 150 to 250,000 to open, which if you compare it to a lot of other businesses, I want to say is really competitive and low startup cost. We have great returns on our investment, and we have great marketing and ramp up our business really quickly.
Yeah.
So every city that we go into, our goal is to have at least 500,000 to 1 million eyes on us the first week we open. So when we open, you're not standing there like, what do we do? You're standing there moving around very quickly trying to feed everybody. What do I do?
And if someone were interested in learning about how do I become a franchisee, who would they get in touch with? What would they do?
I want to say contact Pamela Curry from
I
Pro Business
appreciate
Radio.
you.
Yeah,
Oh,
she'll be
man.
a great broker.
I like that. Thank you very much for that. And sincerely so, people know how to spell Poke Burri because that is a unique name.
Sure. Pokeburri with a space in between.
Excellent. And name, is there a story behind the name, Poke Burri?
Poke really just represents, that we do poke, which is the cuisine that we're in, and burri is short for burrito because we make sushi burritos. And when we started in Atlanta, we were really like the first restaurant of our kind, and we thought we were really creative with the name. And now a lot of people have very similar names, but at least in the city, we were here like more or less first. Yeah.
That helps. I was wondering why. Okay, you just connected the dots for me. Well, very, very happy to have you and Ken in the studio. And just a reminder to our listeners, the owners of KSP Restaurant Group, obviously the parent company of Poke Burri and Lifting Noodles Ramen, have award-winning emerging brands that really have reshaped the emerging Asian food culture. As you said, traditional foods with a twist, right? Obviously receiving a lot of accolades. Number 1 highest rated sushi in Atlanta, number 2 highest rated restaurant overall, and lots of growth plans with Poke Burri as you grow through a franchise strategy. Exciting news. Thank you. I appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you guys so much.
Excellent. We're going to go ahead and we're going to go to our next guest. We're going to take us in a whole different segment here. We obviously were just in the food-related segment, but this is a completely different category. We have Andy with Office Evolution. Andy, welcome.
Hi, Pam. How's it going today?
Very good. Thank you. Office Evolution. Well, you know what? Before we dive into that, would you mind sharing with our listeners a little bit about yourself? Give us a little backdrop.
Yeah. My background's a little bit different probably than most people. I started my work career at 14 years old. My best friend's dad owned.
Is that legal?
I don't even know, honestly. But my best friend's dad owned excavating companies, so I ended up being a water and sewer main layer till I was 22. Went to college at 22 at University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and then I moved down to Georgia at 25. And then worked insurance for a few years, and now I kind of fell into Office Evolution. I own the business, so. That's that, I guess.
The American dream, though, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's what everybody always dreams of,
absolutely.
and admittedly so, you're part of what I call the 1% club. You
yeah,
know? Very few people have
I'm really
the
lucky to be here, absolutely,
courage to take that leap. Well, talk to us a little bit. Office Evolution. What is Office Evolution?
So Office Evolution is a shared workspace. We're locally owned and operated. So basically, you bring your laptop into our office. We provide everything else for you. So if you need a conference room, we have that. If you need a business mailing address, we have that. If you need a private office, we have that. Or even if you just need a spot to work for the day, we have open seating that you can work in for the day. So.
And I'm sure with the onset of everyone working virtually out of their homes now, the trend is
it's just the way the world is going. I mean, because I know some companies I've talked to, they have a lease where 20 people come into the office. They're spending $90,000 a month on that lease. So they're spending over $1 million on real estate a year for 20 people to come in the office.
Right.
Why do you have that overhead when I'll take care of everything? I take care of the front end service. I take care of the cleaning. I take care of your insurance. I take care of your internet. I take care of your phones. I take care of your furniture.
Will you come clean my house?
Sure, for the right price.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how did you, get started on this? Why, there are 3,000 plus different franchise concepts out there. Why Office Evolution?
When I was an intern for Ace Group Insurance Company, I met a guy on a golf course, and I stayed in contact with him for the last 4 years, and he ended up investing in this company, and I was looking at making a move out of Chubb Insurance Company to go to the brokerage side, but he's like, Andy, come work with me. I'll give you equity in the company.
Excellent.
And you just run everything. So I'm just lucky. I'd rather be lucky than good any day.
Well, what do they say? Luck is when opportunity meets effort, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So talk to us a little bit about some of the success stories of Office Evolution and what you've seen so far.
I mean, it just, with our business model, we provide everything for your company. So if you're a lawyer, you're just starting out, and you have a deposition, how are you going to answer your phones? Well, we have a call center that will answer your phones for you, so you're not missing out on that business. And then when you have your clients come into our office, they also look more professional because it looks like you have this really great Class A real estate, but really you have just the one office instead of taking on the whole suite. So it really makes your business look more professional, makes you look like a more professional business person.
Absolutely. And where is Office Evolution headquartered?
The headquarters, the franchise, is in the Boulder, Louisville area in Colorado.
Beautiful.
And then, yep. Yeah, no, it's awesome. I love Colorado.
Well, we're going to keep you in the South, though.
Yeah, I mean, I like the weather here, too. I like to go golfing, so I can do that year-round.
And is your location here, are you officially opened yet?
Yes, our Dunwoody location just officially opened about a week ago, and then our Alpharetta location across the street from Avalon has been open, I think, like 4.5, 5 months now.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm close to Dunwoody, so that's the one I'm going to go check out.
Yeah, you have to. It looks good.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if someone were looking to get space from you and take advantage of your great offering, how would they go about finding you?
They can go online and just Google Office Evolution, or they can call me, or they can email me. And my email is andy.bean@Office Evolution, and my phone number is 770-687-5563.
Would you want to repeat that?
770-687-5563, and then andy.bean@officeevolution.com.
And just to be clear, your last name is spelled B-E-A-N.
Yeah, like the vegetable, of course.
Really excited to have you on the show. Very excited to have you have a presence here in Atlanta. Anything else you would like to share with our listeners as, let's say, as a new franchise owner?
It's rewarding. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun because at the end of the day, you're working for yourself, and you kind of can see what you made at the end of the day.
Right.
So it's yours.
And and I just want to bring this up just for our listeners. One of the conversations we had on the phone was the fact that there are certain business concepts that are out there that permit semi-absentee ownership. And Office Evolution really falls underneath that umbrella.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's the dream. I mean, the way I'm doing it's a little different than most. So, if you're going to open one location, you do the build-out phase, you hire a business center manager, you kind of step away and you let the business center manager run the office because it's their business center,
Absolutely.
But I'm opening 5 locations, so I'll be in it pretty deep for the next few years until I really get them built out all the way and kind of filled up. Yeah,
that makes sense. And will all of your locations be here?
In the Atlanta area, probably Metro Atlanta. Yeah, so just focusing on the suburbs.
Well, you're in the right place, right, with all the growth we're experiencing.
Oh yeah,
so
that's
excellent.
crazy. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you being on
Thanks
the show.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Larry, welcome. And I'll tell you, I'm just really excited to have our listeners learn from you because I know you've got a lot of deep and wide experience in the franchise space.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Not to date you or me because I'm in the same genre.
Oh, that's okay. No, go right ahead.
Larry Schwartz has more than 25 years of corporate and business development experience and has held executive level positions in the ancillary healthcare and franchise industries. During that time, you actually were really instrumental in the developing and managing of new business ventures. Very involved in that. Also, you started your career as a master developer for multi-brand organizations in Southern California. So we took you from the West Coast to the South. I don't know if that was a good move, Larry.
Nah, I kind of like it, actually.
Admittedly so. I lived in Laguna Beach for a year, and I returned. I boomeranged back myself. But shortly after, you really have gotten involved with helping take franchise systems, not only nationally, but internationally as well.
Correct. So, yeah, our firm, we essentially build and finance franchise systems. That's the 3-second elevator pitch, if you will.
I like the end-to-end solution to build and develop. And let's talk about the organization you're currently with. The organization you're currently with is DCV Franchise Group.
Correct.
And go ahead and tell us a little bit about DCV Franchise Group.
So, as you mentioned, DCV Franchise Group is a turnkey professional services provider to the franchise industry. We essentially do 3 primary things. We build and incubate new franchise systems from the ground up. We work extensively with emerging brands on everything from operations to franchise sales strategy to sales outsourcing. And then we also facilitate financing for franchisees.
Excellent. Yeah, and that's a big piece because, right, everyone goes, I want to own a business, but well, how are you going to fund that business?
Exactly. Minor detail.
Right. It's my understanding that DCV Franchise Group is really, obviously, you get involved with funding on different levels, but you've really carved out a niche for yourself in the SBA space.
Within the financing pillar, that's correct. We do 401k rollovers and traditional forms of financing as well, but we're really masters at SBA, and we find that a very significant percentage of franchisees will look in that direction.
That makes sense. And tell us a little bit about, I guess, the DCV story, because you've really evolved, like you said, almost to become an end-to-end provider.
Right. Well, how that came to be is, as you mentioned earlier, I actually started my career in the health and fitness industry, and was an EVP for a large luxury health club concept. And when I left that, was kind of looking for the next thing to do, and landed in franchising because a franchise broker actually contacted me and said, hey, I hear you're looking for something, and kind of got me into the industry. And that's how I started with the master license. And so I actually started as a franchisee, a master license franchisee, and just kind of navigated my way through the industry. And I've done a lot of things, and ultimately, ended up as a franchise consultant. My partner, who's up in Nashville at the American Bar Association conference right now, Reg Bird, had started DCV Financing about 15 years ago, and he and I became strategic partners in business, and we became friends, and had always talked about doing something together.
Okay.
And so, to make a long story short, about 2 years ago, we found that opportunity and kind of took the consulting and advisory piece and the financing piece and merged the two together.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I like that. So for those that are listening, what do you find to be some of the greatest challenges that both franchisors and franchisees are facing today?
Oh, boy. How much time do we have?
Really? How long's the list?
So, as you mentioned earlier, the industry is doing really well, and there's more than 3,000 franchise companies in the U.S., as you referred to, in just about every industry and industry segment you can imagine. And we work with all sorts of industries, from food and beverage to education to fitness and everything in between. I think if you were to talk to the majority of franchisors, everyone's probably number one pain point is franchise sales and lead generation. It's funny when you go to conferences and you're in a roundtable session, and it's always the franchise sales roundtables that there's no seating available, right?
Exactly.
So everybody struggles with that. Most concepts struggle with that. It's something that you can't sell franchises without sufficient quality and quantity of inquiries and leads.
Sure.
So developing that strategy and the initiatives to support that strategy and the right investor-facing positioning of your brand, and all of that is key to successful franchise sales. So that's one of the biggest challenges.
No, very well said. I always say when people come to me and go, I want a franchise, I'm like, the biggest challenge, recruitment of those franchisees, right? Especially that first generation.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. So currently, you obviously mentioned you're working in a lot of different industry segments and get involved. Are there any ones that you think are a little bit stronger than others currently in today's franchise market?
Yeah, there's there's so many of them, but I think what we're finding now is that the trends. First of all, millennials are now not going to make any millennial jokes, I promise, but millennials are now have the the most buying power in the country, and it's a different generation, and so we're seeing a lot of growth in brands and industries and industry segments that focus on healthy cuisine, and that ranges from fast food to QSR to fast casual, multicultural cuisine, so fusion cuisine like poke, for example.
Sure.
We're seeing a lot in the home health care. Fitness, and the fitness industry, which I come from, has kind of moved away from the big box clubs, more to the boutique, where they can focus on people's individual needs, yoga studios and cycle bars, that kind of thing. So anything that's kind of healthy, environmental, wellness oriented. Those are all pretty hot.
Yeah, I would agree. And you brought up a really interesting topic, which is the millennial topic, right? Literally, I was on.
Did I open up a can of worms there? Or?
Actually, you hit a hot spot because I was having a conversation on the way to the studio today, and I was speaking with a particular franchisor, and we were talking about a candidate that's a millennial. And one of the questions he had was, why are franchisors not as millennial friendly? And I thought that was an interesting question or perception. Any views or thoughts on that?
Well, I think the industry is adjusting.
Yes.
Because this is more of a recent phenomenon. So you've seen so many shifts in the industry across the board. 10, 15 years ago, the industry just looked different and things were done different.
Absolutely.
And the demographic makeup of the industry and who franchisees were back then is different than now. So whether it's technology platforms or branding, messaging, the types of industries and industry segments as we just talked about, how to reach the target audience, all that is shifting toward millennials. And, I think to answer your question specifically is just, it takes time to make that adjustment. And not all franchisors some have done it very successfully, and others are kind of lagging behind a little bit.
Absolutely. And another part of our conversation was the fact that funding, right? Financing. So what we're starting to also see is that bi-generational occur because the parents being a little bit older might have more of the nest to invest, but their son or daughter have the energy, the drive, the business sense, the skills to really be more of that active owner-operator.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
So a lot of good stuff happening there. On the finance side, from your perspective, how are franchisees what is their most common financing approach? What are you seeing as
in terms of the type of option that they select? Well, we see a lot in SBA. The SBA is pretty aggressive at facilitating. Obviously, SBA are government backed. Yeah. Interest rates are generally favorable. Amortization schedules are relatively favorable, and it's not a simple process. If anybody out there has ever gone through an SBA process, it can be like having a root canal. But if having an organization to help facilitate that process can make it a lot easier.
Yes, I hear you. And right now, we have a lot that's happening here in Atlanta. I just want to give a shout out to all of our colleagues, right? Because we have the Franchise Development Leadership Conference that's going on, and you have a couple of business partners that are at the conference, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's funny you should bring that up. We're actually based in Los Angeles, but we opened up an office here in Atlanta because we view Atlanta as being the new kind of global, market for the franchise industry.
Totally agree.
Whether that be franchisors, private equity firms, franchise locations, franchise attorneys. There's just a mecca of franchise activity here in Atlanta.
Yeah, it's the hub of franchising for the South, hands down.
It's actually becoming the hub of franchising for the entire country.
I would agree, and that doesn't surprise me at all. One of the conversations I was having with Anthony is the Southeast Franchise Forum, which is, here in Atlanta. It's a chapter of the IFA, the International. Right. It's the largest chapter of the IFA.
Correct.
To your point, right?
Yeah, and also, you've got one of the largest, if not the largest, private equity firms, in the world that is, buying up brands left and right and has a huge portfolio of franchise organizations based here in Atlanta.
Agreed. So glad you came back, right? Moved from the west to the south.
Well, I'm actually kind of back and forth. So I'm here a lot though. I'm getting to know the flight attendants on a first name basis on Delta. So
I like to think you have the best of two worlds.
Yeah, no, it's great being able to go have. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. So before we hand out your information and how someone can get in touch with you, any additional advice or thoughts that you would like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I think the primary thing is we do a lot of work with franchisors, with franchise companies, and a lot of startup and early stage companies. And I think the message that I want to get out there, because I get this question comes to me all the time.
Sure.
What makes a successful franchise system versus a less than successful franchise system? And my answer is always the same thing. If you're going to franchise, do it the right way. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, in our industry, we sometimes find companies that go to market ill-prepared. So the really the core message here is that for brands that have existing going concern, have existing locations, are looking at franchising as a expansion strategy.
Yes.
Make sure that you build the franchise system infrastructure properly and that you're truly market ready. If you're not, I would say hold off and don't franchise until you are.
Well said. No, I great advice. Totally agree with you. So for those that are trying to get that proper infrastructure in place, they're hearing that message, how would they go about getting in touch with you?
Well, DCVFranchiseGroup.com. So that's Dog Charlie Victor, DCVFranchiseGroup.com. They can also email me directly. I'm one of the partners, as I mentioned earlier, in the firm, and that's L. Schwartz.
Ooh, got to spell that.
Yes, well, in the South you do, in L.A. you don't. It's SCHWARTZ. So L. Schwartz at DCVFranchiseGroup.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And real quick, is there a story behind DCV Franchise Group?
It was originally, so my business partner started DCV. It was actually an acronym for Direct Connect Ventures. But he had built a lot of brand equity in the industry, and we didn't want to miss out on that, so we kind of dropped Direct Connect Ventures and just kept DCV.
Okay.
But that's originally what it
was. Okay, that makes sense. There's always a story, right, behind the name.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
For things. Well, I just want to say thanks to everyone for being on the Franchise Business Radio Show. A little bit about Franchise Intellect, just to let you know, I am a franchise consultant, and I do specialize in helping clients who are considering franchise ownership. So hopefully I will be able to, be of service to you, Poke Burri, and help you out there. And obviously we'll continue to collaborate with you, Larry, on some different ways that we can work together. And Andy, you and I are already in communication on, I appreciate you putting me in touch with the right people over at Office Evolution. Any questions or anything else that you would like to share? I'm going to start at this side, and then I want to go ahead 7. Anything you would like to share with our listeners who are considering franchise ownership? What would you say?
I want to say definitely look at a lot of different things, and if you're looking for restaurants, look for good food, look for a good business side, but also look to the kind of person that you're going to be working with. I think a lot of people are ignoring that it's kind of like your business married to somebody, and unfortunately you don't have years to date that person, but make good decisions and look for franchise companies that are really there to help you. A lot of franchises, especially in Poke today, they'll sell 100 franchises, open none of them, or sell 200 of them and have one person trying to open 50 stores at a time. And I'd say look out for that. I think when you work with us, at least you get a chance to work with owners, not reps, not people whose job is to sell you. And I think we're really invested in the growth of our people, and look for companies that do that.
And with your strong presence in Atlanta, do you have any upcoming events or anything like that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I think last week we just won Best of Atlanta, an award there. Cameron Park Fall Festival, we just won ATL Night Market as well. And then in about a week and a half, we plan to win Taste of Atlanta.
Congrats. Yeah. Well said. Thank you. Andy, for that want to be entrepreneur, what kind of advice would you give?
Well, if you think you're going to buy into a franchise and then you're not going to have to do that much and you're going to become rich, that's a lie, and you're lying to yourself. You still have to work really hard. Even though you're getting the business model handed to you, it's still a lot of work.
That's right.
Yeah.
Agreed. We were talking about that,
Yeah,
right?
yesterday.
This isn't the field of dreams.
No,
right?
no, because everyone would be an entrepreneur then.
That's
yeah.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
If it was that easy, everybody would do
Absolutely.
it. Yeah, and so it's a lot of work, and the rewards are very great. And
We'll see.
yeah. It definitely will be. I like it. What advice would you give to someone that is considering franchise ownership?
Well, I would say this. I'm a big believer at passion drives success. So find something as a franchisee that you're truly passionate about. And you stand a much better chance of success that way. There are franchisees who are looking at it more from ROI and investment, perspective, but I think it's really important for franchisees to find the right franchise partner for the right franchise concept for them, something they can really get behind and, feel passionate and good about what they do getting up every day.
Well said. Well, great advice. I know our listeners appreciate that. That wraps up the Franchise Business Radio Show today, and just want to thank all of my guests and listeners. Franchise Business Radio Show.
Thank you again for joining Pam Curry and her guests on the Franchise Business Radio Show, sponsored by Franchise Intellect, a full-service franchise consulting and development firm. More info at franchiseintellect.com. Also made possible in part by Social Joey, the social media experts that provide a hyperlocal presence for your franchise. More info at socialjoey.com. Use the social media links here to share today's show and check out more episodes at franchisebusinessradio.com.